Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Cardfight Vanguard Marine General Aqua Force deck profile for December 2020. Been wanting to do an update to the Aqua Force deck, with the newest one being the Marine General support in the form of Thavas and Lambros that were used by Jaime during the anime for Cardfight Vanguard G, remade into standard format. It's a really awesome deck that takes on the role of calling out grade 4s, kind of like Gear Chronicle does in the standard format from the deck. The only difference is that Aqua Force does it during the attack step instead of during the main phase. So it's a really fun deck that focuses on Thavas as your grade 3, calling out Lambros during the attack step for some really powerful attack step plays. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we're going to go ahead and start off with the grade 4s. Now, I'm not looking to complete the Aqua Force Thavas deck, so I don't have all the cards for them. I'll show what cards I'm missing, but for now, you do want to run 4 Marine General of Heavenly Silk Lambros with this one. From your hand, if you have a Vanguard with Thavas, say its card name, this card gets grade -1. And when placed, choose any number of rear guards and stand them. And on Vanguard, when it attacks, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, choose a column and stand all of your rear guards in that column. And if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, those rear guards get plus 5,000 power until end of turn. So with this card, you have the original setup that Lambros used to do, standing the 2 rear guards on the field, but giving you the additional power setup for the plus 5,000 power and having the additional power boosts from a bunch of different rear guards we could potentially call in this deck that have bonuses when they stand during the attack step as well. And they'll already be rested from their own skills that you can easily restand using Lambros. Having the Excel markers for the additional attacks really make it for all of your setup. You want to run as many Lambros as you can because you're going to be going into these units that much easier. And also the fact that you can have the setup on your rear guard makes it that much better, since this card does count as a grade 3 when you have Thavas in your hand also. For our main go-to grade 3, though, we are running 4 copies of One Who Surpasses the Storm, Thavas, on Vanguard or rear, once per turn. Rest a rear guard, choose up to one of your opponent's rear guards, and retire it. So you have that retire power on Vanguard or rear using this card, and setting up the rested power for all of your rear guards, like I said, is the go-to play you do with this card. And at the beginning of your battle phase, if 3 or more of your rear guards are rested, discard a card from your hand, search your deck for up to 1 grade 4, ride it as stand, shuffle your deck, and that unit's power gets plus 10,000 and drive +1 until end of turn. At the end of the turn, retire that unit and ride a grade 3 from your soul as rest. So basically, it goes off of the Gear Chronicle play where you will ride Thavas from your soul, repeatedly getting you the additional imaginary gift Excel, since Lambros does not have Excel itself, but also being able to give Lambros the plus drive and power. Basically replicates Stride like we had during G format, where you will go into your Lambros having the triple drive, the plus 10,000 power, since Lambros is 15,000 power on its own as well, for a true pressure unit, and then being able to set up the retire power beforehand like Thavas used to do when you would stride over this unit during G format. So very familiar with the standard format for Thavas, but it's your only go-to grade 3. You want to focus a lot of your other support for the grade 2s and the grade 1 setup of searching into and setting up your grade 3 Thavas. For the grade 2s, I also run 4 Kelpie Rider Dennis on Vanguard or rear. Rest another rear guard. Look at the top card of your deck. Call it to rear. This ability may only be used by a card name with the same card name once a turn. So with this card, you just have the rest power for all your other rear guards, which will set up your Thavas play, since you have to have your 3 or more other rear guards as rest for the discard cost for your Lambros. So being able to look at the top card and call it gives you more rear guard consistency to call out units, making Kelpie Rider Dennis a definite, staple in the deck. And it's also searchable with one of our other grade 1s when we get to the grade 1 lineup. I also want to run basically 4 Terrific Coil Dragon. This is the one card I didn't have any copies of, sadly, with this one. On rear guard, once per turn, when stood by a card's ability, you may have this unit get plus 5,000 power. So along with Lambros' own power that it will provide, having this card get an additional plus 5 is a definite bonus for sure. And on rear guard, when it attacks, if it is the first battle of this turn, Soul Blast 1 and stand this unit. So with it, Lambros doesn't have the setup basically to go into, so you have the rest power to rely on with this card for restanding it for the multiple attacks. So you have this additional power. If you don't have the restand, you at least have the consistency to attack with this unit again, making it that much more better on an Excel marker for sure for that power to go into the first attack. But you'll benefit the most obviously when you stand this card and get the additional plus 5 on the rear guard. And there are plenty of other additional options for the grade 2s to run in the deck, including a lot of the older support. There's definitely a lot of support in this set that focused on the Maelstrom support. So finding the grade 2 lineup to work with, I run the 2 Kelpie Rider Byron on Vanguard or rear when it attacks. If it is the 4th battle of that turn or more, this unit gets 15,000 power until the end of battle. So the grade 2 ride isn't as important. You do have Kelpie Rider Dennis as the preferred ride target for this card, but just 2 Byron definitely does come in handy, along with the 2 Trident Shooter just for the rear guard swap positions for all of your setup. Once again, these final spots for the grade 2s can definitely be player preference on what they want to run, but once again, I like them both for the rear guard and power boosting consistency with your terrific Coil Dragon and your Kelpie Rider Dennis still being the main grade 2s you'll go into. And that is it for the grade 2s. We'll now move on to the grade 1s with our main go-to searcher being Kelpie Rider Nikki. This was originally the grade 3 searcher for, generic stride fodder as well during G format, but we have that in the form of Baragios. So with Kelpie Rider Nikki focusing more on Thavas on Vanguard when placed, you look at the 7 cards from the top of your deck, reveal to one who surpasses the storm Thavas or Kelpie Rider Dennis from among them, put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. So with this card, it's a Vanguard only ability, but as your go-to ride target, you'll either be able to search out a preferred grade 2 ride target or the grade 3 ride target, so being grade stuck shouldn't be that much of a problem in this deck altogether. So with this, you have the option for that setup using Kelpie Rider Nikki, and then also on rear, you can rest this unit and put a normal unit from your drop zone on the bottom of your deck, and then soul charge 1. More and more setup, and also just returning units means you can put Lambros back on the bottom of your deck, so you always have the copies to go into, since it's the only grade 4 we will be going into. Unlike Gear Chronicle, where we have multiple grade 4s we can run, we only have Lambros to go into. So if we damage check them or use one already, we want to rely on Nikki for more copies to be placed back into the deck to reuse. And I also run the 4 copies of Baragios. Now, if you only want to run the 2, that's fine as well. You can run the 2 Tier Knight Macon and as another spot to fill in. But the 4 of it just helps for more grade 3 consistency, especially if you use Kelpie Rider Nikki to search out your Dennis grade 2. You want grade 3 search as well. And also with Baragios, just being the one place, look at 5 cards on top of your deck, reveal up to 1 grade 3 from among them, put into your soul, and then put a card from your hand and discard it to the drop zone. So with this card, also on Vanguard or rear during your turn, if you have 4 more rear guards at rest, it gets plus 5,000 power, which can be beneficial when, late game as that additional plus as one of the last cards to attack or boost into your opponent, especially on the additional rear guard circle. But also, if you don't have them, you can put in the Tier Knight Macon. It's just an additional grade 1 with 3,000 power, but the additional critical plus 2, more pressure against your opponent, especially with the trigger lineup we run in the deck. I also run the 3 Kelpie Rider Todarius. With this one on rear, when rest by a card's ability, counter plus 1, choose one of your rear guards and it gets plus 10,000 till end of turn. So this card works especially well with Dennis's rest power, but it can also work with Thavas for the rest and retire and then additional power unit, because it has to be another one of your rear guards. So if you were to run the Macon in the deck, being able to boost this card's power up and still have the additional critical plus 2 for this card means it's definitely a scary card to guard against with your opponent, especially if you get additional trigger units with our front trigger lineup that we're running. And lastly, for the grade 1s, just the 2 Light Signals Penguin Soldier. You can rest this unit, and one of your units in the same column gets plus 5,000 power. So not only does it contribute to the rest for Thavas setup, but also more power boosting for some of your other units in the deck. And when your other unit attacks, if it's the 4th battle of that turn, retire this unit, and then you can countercharge 1. So making up for countercharging by, eating away all the counterblasts you do in the deck. This card is great for sure. If you wanted to run 4 copies of this card, you could potentially just run the 2 Baragios in the deck, and then also, put in the 2 additional Macon instead of the Penguin Soldier for the grade 1 lineup. But once again, it's player preference on what you wanted to run in the deck altogether. And that is it for the grade 1s. We'll now move on to the grade 0, our starter being the new Kelpie Rider Mitros. I believe it's more fitting since it was part of the Marine General lineup and all the different cards for the Aqua Force deck. And also just sharing the same skill when wrote upon, you draw a card and get the quick shield from your hand if your opponent's already at a grade 1 unit. And also for the trigger lineup, decided to go with the front triggers. I just believe it has the more pressure with all the different rear guards we attack with in the deck. So 4 Outride Draco Kid, 4 Dolphin Soldier of High Speed Raids, so 8 total for the lineup. For the Sentinel spot in the deck, if you wanted to run the draw trigger, that's fine. I've been testing out the critical trigger, and I definitely do like the additional critical trigger pressure. You have the front triggers to boost all your units, but sometimes your opponent just doesn't see the critical trigger coming, so this pressure for the additional critical can definitely stop your opponent and also save cards in your hand for you to call to rear guard while giving you this 30,000 shield to guard against your opponent. It all depends on the deck you go up against also. And lastly, just the 4 heal, the new one, Activate Draco Kid. I definitely did think it was fitting for the deck with all the other, Draco Kid lineup for the front triggers especially. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Like I said, definitely enjoying the latest set for all the support for the new stuff that's come out, especially the Aqua Force. Hoping to do a few more decks from this set before the next one gets released. But until then, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira Qualia out.